Hi all, just thought I'd give an update on my focal dystonia journey. It has been about 6 years now, maybe just under. So probably the best thing is that I have made progress. It does take a very long time. Some things I could have done differently if I'd known. So that's why I'm making this video. So hopefully anyone else dealing with the same problem can hopefully expedite their recovery. Still not 100%, and I still get good days and bad days, but overall the trajectory is still improving, so that's the main thing. Probably the biggest thing I did was I signed up for Dr. Jochen Farias course on focal dystonia. He doesn't just address focal dystonia but others as well. It is worth a look. When I was on, I only signed up for about 3 months, and that was enough to sort of give me material to work on my hand and just try and make some progress. He does have more in-depth stuff with regards to different instruments. So when I signed up, he had guitar, and then I think he introduced violin as well. Obviously, what I'm saying is in relation to playing drums. I have dabbled a bit with guitar and bass and did find that it was negatively impacting my left hand, but I'm not finding that at the moment. I can't play guitar or bass particularly well at all, so yeah, I'm definitely not going to give any advice on that. Probably the biggest thing that has helped me once I was able to start playing again, outside of using traditional grip, which I was using for quite some time in the last couple of years, because that enabled me to actually play. But the biggest thing is I had to ditch hard practice pads, and that's something I've only learned in the last probably 4 or 5 months. So at the moment I'm using this Minor pad, which is a foam rubber. It was very hard to get, and it's not very durable. Like within a couple of hours I've got splits in the foam, but it works as a sort of a warm-up tool. I don't spend any time on the practice pad at the moment, and I usually only practice every other day on the kit. And the reason I do that is because I found that I need the extra rest, presumably for a bit of a reset, and to enable my hand and my mind to recover. It is important to remember that focal dystonia is a neurological thing. It's not muscular. It's not relation to any connective tissues or anything, so you can't treat it like something you can fix with exercise. So probably another breakthrough I had was, I think I was watching one of David Diopold's videos. It was someone teaching push-pull anyway, and what they were showing was basically flicking water off your hand and then bring it back up. And the thing sort of clicked for me there is that the biggest issue is clamping onto the stick and grabbing on and having all this tension in here, because I'm assuming as I was playing growing up, I was mostly holding the stick with these 2 fingers, and that's where my problem stemmed from. So my fulcrum's been down here and playing badly with the wrist. Now fortunately I don't get symptoms doing that now, which is great. If I tried to do that a couple of years ago, I would have been doing all that stuff, you know, the rolling up of the wrist and everything. So you can see there's a huge difference, which is great. But what I try and do is I'm trying to hold the stick. I know it looks silly, but that's how I'm trying to hold the stick consciously. So I'm trying to keep the fingers and everything pointed. So fingers and thumb, just consciously trying to point them. Something that I do notice is, because like right hand, whatever, I can do whatever I want. I don't have to think about it. So that just happens. But because I have to consciously think about what my left hand's doing, it is fatiguing, which is part of the reason that I practice every other day, and I actually sort of don't really practice more than an hour when I do, and quite often anything down to like 20 minutes, just purely because this is tiring. And like anything with muscle memory, it does improve with time, and you know, on a good day I can do a full practice session of at least an hour, no problems, no symptoms, or minimal symptoms anyway. But yeah, so no hard practice pads. spend very little time on the pad and keep those fingers pointed, you know, make that sort of duck beat thing. The other thing that helped me was I had a training course for work. It was pretty much no drums for 4 weeks. And I was playing traditional grip prior to the course, and I can still whack it out, that's fine. You know, no symptoms there, anything like that. But I got back, sat down behind the kit, and I hated how it felt. No power. I don't know if it's just my anatomy, but like there's a huge lack of mobility for me in that wrist. Always has been. When I used to play when I was younger in traditional grip, there was a lot of arm movement to compensate for that, and that's never really improved. So I sat down and thought, I want to make match grip work. So basically what I did was focused on a German style grip. So French grip seems to cause symptoms for me, but I'm working on that. German style grip, pointed fingers, and what I did was I got the Virgil Donati power drumming exercise, which basically is 8 bars of a quarter note count, starts at 100, works the way up to 200 BPM, and you do that, so you're doing 4 strokes of drum, 2 strokes, 1 stroke, and then hands together, alternating strokes, etc., and double strokes. Initially I was having to stop at around 120 beats per minute, just the 4 strokes per drum around the kit. It very quickly went up to about 150, 160. The double strokes have been my biggest hiccup and the biggest cause of symptoms in recent times. So my focus was initially on making single strokes feel comfortable, and then using the power drumming system. He does an exercise where you're doing double strokes at 1/8 note counts in time with the feet, so you're playing 4 on each foot, accompanied by 2 on each hand, so you're going, and you're starting 100 BPM, and I found that really helps. So being able to treat every double stroke as a single stroke, high volumes. Initially, once it gets to the next exercise where you're playing doubles as 16th notes, I couldn't push past about 120, 130 BPM for a couple of weeks. I was doing this every practice session, and sometimes this is the only thing I did in the practice session. And eventually I was able to push up to 150, 160, and now there's days where I can do it over 200, which is fantastic, but not for any sustained length of time. And doing them in all various articulations is also pretty difficult. So once I got doubles feeling comfortable, started working on paradiddles. Again, another level of discomfort that can trigger symptoms. That's what I found. Anything with shuffle doubles, so like Swiss triplets and so on. So yeah, it's been a journey. Now the other thing I wanted to bring up was gloves. So I have a problem, and I always have done, where in winter and in cold months, cold days, my hands just completely dry out and I have no friction grip. So at the moment, things are warming up. I've got some pretty good grip there, it's great. I was able to play no gloves today. Throughout all of winter, I was using nitrile gloves, and they were a massive help, and I would not have made the progress that I made if I hadn't had the idea to use those. The only downside to nitrile gloves is they're sealed. Anyone who's worn them at length for any period of time knows that basically your hand fills up with sweat. You know, the glove's full of sweat, and but you know, if you can deal with that, it's not really an issue. I've had them on for over an hour, you know, in some cases, and you just deal with it. I did try out the Vic Firth Vic gloves, and for my right hand they're fine. But you've only got grip between the thumb and the index finger, and I found that with my left hand I was having to compensate, so having to think again too much about what I was doing with my left hand, and I've stopped using them for that reason, because my symptoms were actually getting worse. My left hand was getting worse. So last couple of practices I alternate between the nitriles and the and bare hands, and I've noticed I'm already recovering fairly quickly. So Yeah, so that's been good. There's nothing wrong with these gloves. If you don't have a problem with your hands, honestly, and you feel like you need gloves for whatever reason, I don't see any reason not to use it. They did improve my grip when my hands were dry, or my right hand anyway. I didn't have to think about it. But as far as assisting with my personal focal dystonia, they didn't help, and in fact things are going backwards. So that's about it. The main thing is like I said at the start, I get good days, bad days, better days than some, but the overall trajectory is that everything's going up. Rest is a huge factor, and if I hadn't taken that sort of 4 weeks off playing drums, I might not necessarily have been able to come in as strong as I did. I'll try and sort of do a TLDR version, so basically soft practice pads, like nothing that's hard like a tabletop. You want it to absorb your hit like a real drum would. Get that water splash going with your fingers, keep them pointed. Try not to grab the stick. You want to let your hand stay loose, and whether your fulcrum is between the index finger or middle finger, whatever, doesn't matter too much, but keep that hand open and relaxed. And nitrile gloves to help with grip, and it might also help with the that false assist. I can't remember what it's called, but basically where the symptoms go away if you make contact with the other hand on the symptomatic hand. That helped me a lot when I was trying to, at the start, and I was trying to do certain things. I'd touch the back of my hand to minimise those symptoms. That's about it, really. Again, if anyone's got any questions, I'm happy to share my experience. Yeah, it's not much else to say, so get in touch if you would like some advice or share your experiences or whatever. I'm happy to hear anything in the comments from anyone who's gone through similar experiences. I'd personally love to see more awareness and information on focal dystonia amongst musicians, so that people who experience it can know how to overcome the symptoms and recover from it as quickly as possible. Video is a bit longer than I'd hoped it would be. I like to keep things short and sweet, but if it was helpful to you, please let me know, and see you next time.